Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Oh, there you are. Hello, mate.
Well. Sam Dunning with a relatively small beer.
Well, I mean, you're the expert on relatively small, aren't you?
In more ways than one, actually, my friend.
Yeah, and we don't need to go any further than that. We can leave that to the imagination of our wonderful listeners and viewers who now are probably going to switch off because they're thinking all sorts of things that they don't want to be thinking. But anyway, lovely to see you, mate. Other than lacking in size, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. No, it's been a lovely week. I had a couple of days of sitting at home twiddling my thumbs, in doing some isolation, because then we had a couple of days shooting as the one and only Genius. So it's been a lovely week. Yeah.
You've been back out E equals MC squaring, have you?
That's the one. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Other than that, I can't say anything at the moment, but for obvious reasons.
But we'll all be subjected to it every 5 minutes on TV in the near future, I'm sure.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
But
talking of busy weeks,
mate, definitely.
No, I'm not
sorry. I know for a fact you are not sorry in the slightest. So, but yeah. Well, no, I'm glad you've had a good one, and obviously I've been out and about doing a few shows. Few performances under the belt, going really well. So really chuffed with that, loving it. If anyone happens to be up out here in the wilderness, a million miles from anywhere, and fancies watching a show, check out How's Your Father. Just give it a Google. Well, actually, probably don't Google How's Your Father, because that might look up How's Your Father show on Instagram. That's probably the safer way of doing it. Otherwise, you may. If you haven't got your Google Safe Search turned on, then you might end up with all sorts of things. But
you might tumble into some unsavoury areas, shall we say?
Well, yeah, exactly, exactly. So, but
no, it's I'm glad you've had a good week. It's all been going well. So nice, isn't it? We're both nicely busy, enjoying, planning for the future. It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff.
Well, I mean. It's more than can be said for outside. It's certainly not nice at the moment. In fact, might say that. Well, hey, up here, mate. Already up here, you might say the weather is not fucking good. I
mean, it's usually me that does that.
What tells a great joke? Not sure it is.
Well, let's drift away from that. But no, well done, mate. We all love a pun. We all love a pun and a segue. We're all about a pun and a segue.
Puns and segues. That should be our blurb, shouldn't it? Not all the stuff about what we do. And so, fancy a pun and a segue? In you come. But so go on then, mate. What have we got in the news before we get down to brass tacks and to the most important thing today, which is another fantastic guest, may I say? What's to report? Anything of importance?
Well, I think there's one thing, and we're because of our recording times, we missed being able to pay tribute to the late great Michael Gambon, who has passed away. I mean, there's very little you need to say about him. I mean, he just about done everything, worked with everyone. And the main thing about Michael Gambon was nobody at any point ever had a bad word to say about him.
No.
Certainly not about his performances, because I mean, probably one of the most accomplished and fully rounded actors, of recent years, of modern times, with some stunning performances, and people, even the younger generation, will know Michael Gambon because of his Harry Potter work, and exactly. He really went right across the board. I mean, Harry Potter, Doctor Who in recent years, and of course,
go on.
And he has a corner named after him in the Top Gear circuit.
Oh yeah, back when Clarkson, Hammond, and May were presenting, and they had the test track. Did he nearly roll a car or something? Is that what?
I think he did, Sam. Yeah, I think it was one of the nearest misses they've ever had, and so Gambon, I think it's the second to last corner on the circuit.
Yeah, Gambon corner, named in tribute to the great man. And I'm glad that we can pay a tribute. As you said, because of our recording schedule, he actually, the news of his passing didn't come up until our previous episode was released or was published. But we can now pay a tribute to an incredibly talented actor,
incredibly talented,
beloved by all, really. So
yeah.
The word legend does get thrown around, but I think in this time, absolutely justified. So
well deserved, yeah. So, Sam, I mean, it's very, we're here. Well, you're there, I'm here, and we have, of course, a wonderful guest.
We do,
a wonderful guest.
I just mentioned the word legend, and our guest today is considered a legend in his local area. I mean, he's so well known in his local area, but also has travelled all over the world and all across the sea, we should say, doing what he does. And I'm very lucky that I'm about to be working. I've worked with him a little bit, but I'm about to be working with him a lot more. And more of that shall be revealed very shortly. But speaking of revealing, shall we just reveal our guest to our wonderful listeners and viewers? Shall we bring him out for them now?
Let's leap in, Sam. Let's do it, mate.
Ladies and gentlemen, please meet our latest guest, Mr. Krazy Kev. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls especially, I present to you the wonderful Mr. Krazy Kev Aggett. Good morning, Kev. How are you, mate?
Hello, good morning. What an intro. Thank you very much. Good morning. How are we, guys?
Very well, thank you, mate.
Well.
Yeah, and you deserve a good intro, and that's got nothing to do with the fact that you are sort of partially my boss at the moment. We'll get into that in a minute. It's because I like you anyway. So it's all good.
Oh, bless you.
And you are more than deserving of said intro because we've been wanting to have you on the show for some time. And equally, you are a guest that I think our audience are going to be super excited to know is on the show and to listen to, because we've managed to talk, or we're going to talk about another niche of the industry, another area that Drew and I have a little bit of experience in, but you have basically shaped your whole career around, which is incredibly exciting. I'll do a quick intro for you. Drew, this is Kev. Kev, this is Drew.
Good morning, Kev.
Nice to meet you. Good morning.
And now I'm going to pass the buck over to you, Kev, and say, for all our listeners and viewers, can you do an intro to Krazy Kev, who he is, what he does, why he's Krazy Kev?
Who is Krazy Kev? Well, Krazy Kev is primarily a family and children's entertainer. So I've been doing that for about 16 years. Before that, I used to work on the holiday parks. So I kind of worked my way up to entertainment manager after leaving like college and performing arts and all of that malarkey. I worked my way up to entertainment manager, as I say. And then, I kind of, on my last season, I could go out and work for an agent as well as kind of be a manager. And obviously, as you're a manager, you can kind of work your rota around. And then at the end of that was a Christmas season. So at the end of that, it was me and my best friend, bless her, we were called Baggy Trousers. And we used to wear those really kind of 90s trousers with those tassels hanging off of it. And so we used to go out and we were a double act. And the agent said to us at the end of that Christmas season, look, we've got plenty of work. If you want to kind of come off and do that for us, then do that. So I left the parks and Krazy Kev was born. And it was wonderful. And like to have like an agent like that, and you've got instant work, instant money where you're kind of building up your business. So that was Nikki and Roy at Children's Party Entertainment. I'll give them a little mention because they are lovely and they helped me massively to start with in those first few years. And obviously I do still do a bit of work for them now and see them regularly. So that's nice. So that's how I kind of first got into it. And that kind of, as you say, shaped the next kind of 16 years of my career. And I do all sorts now, primarily like still my bread and butter is like children's birthday parties. And that work is kind of always there. and I love doing that. But yeah, also I do like a lot of holiday parks and a lot of cruise kind of work as well. And I'm also a comedy magician, so I go out as Kev Stevens, and that would be more of the kind of, again, kind of still family, I would say, but more tailored to like an adult audience in the room as well. So that is more for like your cruise ships and your holiday parks. And then obviously the panto stuff. So yeah, an actor, director, producer, writer, yeah, sing the theme tune, write the theme tune, yeah. Is that it's
I mean, I've done a little bit of the children's entertainment as well. I mean, I worked for Polka Children's Theatre many years ago.
Yeah.
I did children's parties as a mad scientist, as a presenting. Worked in schools and then did the rounds of the children's parties. And Sam and I have spoken about it in the past. They are probably the most honest audience you'll ever get.
Absolutely.
And if you can work with a children's audience, I think that you can work with almost any audience. I mean, if they don't like it, they're up and off. So you've got to hold them. When you started doing the children, and you say you started in the parks, in the holiday parks, which again is a world unto itself. How did you come? I mean, were you suddenly thrown into it? Or did you go, actually, I'd quite like to do that? Or was it one of those things when you get to the holiday parks, you go, right, you'll be doing the bingo and you're doing the swimming pool. Oh, okay, you do the kids. Was it one of those, or did you go, actually, I think I could do this and I'd like to do it? Did you, was it something you found yourself very good at and really enjoying?
Absolutely, and the parks are like a world to themselves. Absolutely, and by the way, I can definitely see you as a mad scientist. Definitely, with that white coat on, I can see you as that.
It's a weird thing, Drew. You in science, so the mad scientist previously, and now you're parading around as Einstein in adverts.
I know, mate. I know.
That's the weirdest typecasting I've ever heard of.
It's bizarre.
I can see it. I can definitely see it.
Thank you.
So, on the holiday parks, I wasn't kind of thrown into every area. It was my first holiday park I went off to. I was 17, so I did performing arts at college, and when I finished that, I loved technical as well. So I was like, right, I'm going to do a little technical course as well, a little 1-year technical course, and I started it and loved it. But I very quickly realised that I do not want to be sat at the back of that room. I want to be up there on stage. So I left that and auditioned for Butlins. At the time, I was too young to go, but they still auditioned me, which was nice of them to kind of do that and then just let me down. So yeah, they still auditioned me for Butlins. I then obviously didn't get that, but I went to a park in Selsey called Bun Leisure, now called Seal Bay. So I went there, and there your duties were hardly anything at all. It was basically dance on the dance floor and call bingo. They would have, even in the kids' room, they would have an act on every single night in the main room. So Bun Leisure is I don't know if it still is, but at the time it was the largest privately owned holiday park in Europe. So it was huge. And there was like between 35 of us entertainers. I was 17. I had to have a little note from my mum to say I was allowed to live away from home. And it was just the best time of my life. We had a converted shower block. We had like a middle block, which was like our communal bit, boys and a girls thing. And it was just a 24-hour party, the best thing I've ever done. And I knew from then, right, this is what I do. So getting into the magic side of it, I obviously the typical magician story. Oh, I had a Paul Daniels magic set when I was 4. And I did have one of those, and I did do the old little shows on my best friend at the time on his doorstep. He lived in like an army kind of complex. And he had like this little doorstep, and all the houses were along like that. So all the other children would come and watch, and we would do like a little show. But that was kind of the first bit, and I never kind of revisited that until I was working for Shawfield, and particularly I was manager at Oak Dean in the New Forest, which was amazing because it was kind of a stone's throw from where I grew up. My parents were a 5-minute drive away, but yeah, I was still living on Park, and it was great fun. And there was a friend of mine there. He was an entertainer on the other park. And he had dabbled in a bit of magic, and he was a bit of a DJ. So he had come back from like the Christmas season, and we were starting the new season. And he said, "I'm just not going to do it anymore. And I've got all this gear. Do you want to buy it off me?" So I bought all this stuff off of him, which was probably the best thing I ever did. And his name was Paul, bless him. And I bought all this stuff off of him. So I then had all of this. And being at a holiday park, you have got an instant audience there. It's a perfect place to kind of shape an act.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So I just had all this silly stuff, and I had ketchup bottles with like bits of string that came out of them that looked like ketchup was firing, and a Dove pan. And there was just random stuff in there. And I managed to kind of shape an act out of it. And probably some of the stuff I still do. But yeah, that's probably how it all came about. So, yeah, but I wasn't thrown into it.
It's intriguing because, and you and I have talked, and we'll get on to how we know each other in a bit, because it's another big part of your life. I'm not. That sounded really like egotistical. It's not what I meant. But thank you so much. Checks in the post. Now, but I also, and our viewers and listeners will probably know, because I've mentioned a few times, I also started out on the technical side. And similar sort of story. I enjoyed it to begin with and thought, it's very interesting. But the more and more I did it, the more I was kind of, and my background is sort of in editing and post-production. But for me, it was kind of like, well, the more I went through it, those people the other side of the camera, or those people behind the microphone, they're having far more fun than I am. Why am I stood here working out where that bit goes and listening to that and changing levels and stuff? So, and I guess everyone gets into what they do in a different way. I mean, Drew, you've done it forever. It's been absolutely everything you've done. Your life has revolved around it. Kev, you were catapulted in by doing those little bits, and it meant bit by bit by bit. And I fell into it. But all these different stories, and they all link in some way. But the nice thing is that you find what really makes sense for you and what most appeals. And as you mentioned in your intro, you are also an actor. You do direct, you do write, but I'm guessing first love is always as a children's performer. So without jumping to the other subject just yet, but sort of teetering around it, at what point did you start branching out to do things like writing and producing and stuff like that as well? Was that a natural progression while you were doing parks and kids entertainment?
Was it a natural progression? I don't know if it was. I never intended to write or produce. Never, ever. I obviously did little kind of shows. There's me and some other entertainers. We do like a group show together. And I would always be heavily involved in that. But I wouldn't say I produced it. It was something that we all did together. Yeah. So I always wanted to do panto, and I love doing panto because I love working with other people. My job, as you know, it's a lonely job. I spend a lot of time by myself, a lot of time just in the car by myself, traveling to gigs, or like on ships just by myself. So I love working with other people. So to be in a cast and have that kind of joint involvement, I love that. And I was happy doing that. And then it just kind of fell in my lap that a venue said to me, we've like our production company don't want to go ahead this year. We're stuck for someone. You do panto. Did you want to put a panto in? And I was like, yeah, I do. Yeah, actually. Yeah. All right. I will do that. Yes. And I am, for want of a better word, I like to say I am an entrepreneur. I have other businesses. They do kind of revolve around entertainment. I've always tried to look and do a business that isn't kind of at the weekends and when you're going to be gigging. I've always been a big believer in like, I've got my Monday to Friday kind of mornings when I'm doing nothing. I should be earning money then. How do I earn money then? Yeah. So I've got other businesses and stuff that I do. So I was very quick to say, yep, I'll absolutely do that. And to start with, I didn't write them. And then I thought, I should be writing this, because I was adapting scripts that we had got so much that I thought, I'm gonna write this. And I love that. That is one of the biggest probably achievements I would say of my life, is to see an actor deliver your work, and like that. To see that is touching. It's nice to sit back, and I'd like to say most of the time, I'm always the first in the theatre and the last to leave, and I would always sit at the back of the auditorium and just take 5 minutes to look around before we completely open a show, before any cast have got it, before we've done rehearsals. I will sit in the theatre and I will imagine kind of what will happen, what's going to happen here, and how I will feel when I sit there when the run closes. And that gives me that direction of what I want to do. So in answer to your question, I love being a producer. It wasn't a natural thing. It wasn't something that came along, but doing it is something I'm so pleased that I kind of stumbled upon, because it does feel like a calling to me. And when you said like about the kids stuff, and I like that'll always be like your love, and it is, but like producing and then being in those shows is pretty much up there with it. Yeah.
We've spoken to panto performers and people that work in panto. Sam and I have done more than our fair share.
Yeah.
But what we've never explained, and you started to explain it there a little bit, is like, I was going to say, how do you suddenly get to a venue? Do you approach them? They approach you. But what we've never really explained, and we picked up the panto line through the year, but we come on board at that point, and we come on, and I've directed a couple of pantos, so I've come on board at a certain point in the production line. But it never stops for a panto producer. You finish that run on, where either in December, January, sometime, whenever the run finishes, and then you suddenly go, right, we've got to think about next year's, and it starts again. What is, because I don't know whether many people and our listeners and viewers know the kind of timeline of a panto, because it never stops, as we know.
No.
But what is it? What is that journey from ending of one to that sitting at the back of the auditorium going, okay, in 2 days' time, the SHIT hits the fan. From that moment, what is that timeline? I'm interested to know.
Oh, so I would probably say it's longer than a year, and there's never enough time in a year. And every single year I make the same mistake of going, all right, okay, so we're in January, I've got plenty of time now. It's all right. And I kind of take my foot off that accelerator a little bit. And then like March, I go, oh my goodness, yep, we need to do this. So now we are thinking about like our title for next year, and like, oh, what we're going to do this and how we're going to do that, and all of that, and like how we're going to push on to other venues and stuff like that, because it's not just about kind of like the timeline of that, it's about like where else we think we're going to go. And then if you confirm, say, another venue, I don't know, in July, you go, oh my goodness, okay, so now we've got to pop it into another venue, and like that timeline has got a lot smaller. Next year we've actually got an Easter tour going out as well, so we've got 12 venues confirmed for that. So we're currently working on that now, and that was confirmed really late. What are we now? Yeah, October, crumbs. So so that's recently only just been confirmed that we're going to do that. So we're kind of busy doing that alongside the Christmas one, and because otherwise you finish that one and then you go, oh my goodness, Easter is like a stone's throw away, and how are we going to do that? Timeline wise, I like to try and get the basis of the script done. Obviously there's always like a little basis because you've got your other ones and stuff like that. So I like to try and have that first. And then from that, you can kind of work out your set and your cloths and all of that. Then we kind of cast it. So I don't know, like, say too soon, but obviously working with you, Sam, and you're casting in one of the productions, which is wonderful and lovely to have you on board. I don't know if you would do some big thing for that.
Probably should say that Drew and I, we mentioned a little while ago that I had some news. This is kind of that news, so I'm not going to steal your thunder because we want to talk to you, Kev. But just so it doesn't like completely confuse people, I'm in Panto this year with Kev. So that's why I said earlier, he's sort of my boss. But yeah, but I'll explain more about that later when we're not talking to someone far more fascinating.
Please do, yeah. Oh, don't say that. You are very fascinating. I've been to the pub with you. But yeah, don't.
I'm shaking my head. Shaking my head, people, but I don't mean it. Yeah. Carry on, mate. Carry on.
Well, I knew I wouldn't build it up enough, and I had to drop it in there. But obviously, I can't remember when we cast you, what kind of month it was. But I would say probably it's middle of the year.
Yeah,
that we try and do the casting.
It's in summer. Casting for Panto tends to be in summer, doesn't it? If you're, I say high end, and I don't mean that in a negative way towards anyone else, but if we're talking like the big ones where you've got superstar names, the ones that are real big castings to sell tickets, they're normally confirmed pretty much January, February, would you say?
Yeah,
I think really early doors. But when it comes to casting from a group of people, rather than looking for named casting or big player casting, it's summer, isn't it? Most are around sort of June to August to be safe, because then you've got still another 3 or 4 months before they come in again. So you've got time to play and work things out if there are certain requirements you need to meet, or if there are certain things in the script that need to change for the benefit. Perhaps you've gone a different gender casting to what might be seen as traditional, or you might as with the Panto we're doing, a slight change in what the roles represent, rather than and am I able to say, are we spoiling the secret here?
No, go on.
You are sort of almost dual rolling, aren't you? 2 roles into one, rather than having your traditional prince and comic. You're the 2 sort of combined. So again, that, not in this instance because you knew that was happening, but perhaps if someone decided in another casting they were going to go that way, they'd then have to adapt the script again. So that tends to be why I would say casting is done around summertime, to give you time to make those adjustments where necessary.
Yeah. And obviously, because you're such a big name, so we confirmed you in January.
Well, yeah, exactly. January 2014, I think you confirmed me. You had to wait.
That was it, yeah. So yeah, you do change it. So that's what I was going to lead on to say. So we kind of cast it, and then we change the script and adapt it for kind of whoever's in it. We've got Dave Benson Phillips. He's doing like our giant voiceover, and obviously just been in Celebrity MasterChef. So I obviously added lots of bits in about that, and for him to record. So yeah, and then you would kind of change the script. But like I say, like before you know it, it's and I'm actually going away in like a week's time, and then won't be back to the beginning of November. And I'm trying to manically rush around and do everything now, because I know when I come back, it's gonna, like, my feet won't touch the floor, and before we know it, we'll be in rehearsals. So busy. I don't know if that answers your question, Joe, or not. Sorry, that's rubbish. That's a rubbish timeline, isn't it? That's an all over the place Kev timeline, that is.
But I think that just gives you even more of an impression of the nature of Panto. It is mental. It is crazy. And we've been lucky enough to talk about it a fair amount on the podcast. Drew and I are both seasoned Panto performers. We've had other Panto performers on. Jamie Riding, for example, who you know very well as well, Kev.
Popping for lunch with them this afternoon, actually.
Oh, yeah. Well, there we go. Send our best to it.
I will do.
But it's another one of those areas of the industry, and we say it quite often, that everyone knows everyone, or it's the sort of 3 degrees of separation, that everyone will have worked with someone who knows someone, and there's always that connection. How do you, and this is probably a better question for both of you, although Drew's talked about it before, how do you combine being in a show and also directing? Because the two, there's almost a conflict of interest, but at the same time a benefit. So how does that work?
You want to go first, Joe, or shall I do it?
Oh, you go first.
Thanks so much. It is a hard thing to be in a show and be a director. And I think you've got to be at a certain age to do it. When, like, just going back to the holiday parks, when I was in the holiday parks, I was a manager, and then I had my team, and I was probably 3 or 4 years older than my team, and that was it. And we all lived together. And at times that was hard because I had to, as my role, tell them that they were doing something wrong. And with us all being a bit younger, they kind of took it to heart. And so you go back to your digs and they weren't happy. But being a director, it's knowing how to talk to people to kind of get around it that way. But it is very hard to be like, I tend to kind of keep walking around and I deliver lines from the auditorium so that I can still see it from that angle. But when it comes to it and I'm on stage, and it's just silly things like tech things saying, I don't think that's loud enough out there. I don't think I can hear this, but you can't hear that from on stage. But I like, why would I like directing and being a performer? I don't know. I'm mad, aren't I? But why do I do it? I like control. That's my problem. I like the control of it. I couldn't give it to anyone else. Honestly, I couldn't. Like Rachel, my business partner, like she's obviously there and does help co-direct it with me. But like, so I do get those kind of eyes from the auditorium. Oh goodness, I don't know. Drew, what would you say?
It's interesting because how I get over that. I think because I've directed predominantly as Dane, playing Dane, so I kind of know my through line. I think, well, okay, I'm going to go from here to here, and I've had sort of people, you know, co-directing and choreographers now go, just keep an eye on me and just stop me going, you know, just keep me within where we think I need to be, and that kind of, so more often than not I'll be directing and they'll go, don't do that, Drew. Oh, okay, right, you know. We're not going there. Okay, so that you know, it's so I think I have or try and have a nice overall picture and a flow. And if I've got to know the cast and I've had a hand on the casting, I'll know them and I'll get an idea of how they're going to play it. So yeah, but I think there is an element of control. There is an element of being a puppet master, but there's nothing more rewarding than, you know, getting the compliments and getting comments and saying, well directed, looks great, but also yourself as sitting. I do that little moment of sitting back in the theatre. I do it in the wings, and I wander down and I stand there in various stages of undress, you know, fake boobs and all the rest of it, but stand there going, I like that. Okay, it works for me. I think I've got something, but never complacent. You can't ever rest.
No.
I mean, it's not like you keep on the actors' backs or anything and go, you know, I never really give notes during the show because that's not fair. But occasionally you go, hang on a minute, guys, you know, we put 5 minutes on last night, you know, 4.5 of those minutes was down to me ad-libbing, but we need to tighten it, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's just a wonderful, I think it's a lovely journey. And I love theatre and performance and panto so much that to be involved in every aspect of it, I think that's the rewarding part.
Yeah.
And I, you know, and very often, not to blow smoke up my own backside, but I mean, I've done it for a long time, and I love it very much. And so, to be asked to direct is also a compliment. So I very rarely turn the opportunity down. I'm quite flattered to be asked. So yeah, that's
yeah, absolutely. And I'm not a strict director. I give notes during rehearsals, but again, not during performance. But I would always take everybody else's comments on board, and I think that's a big thing being a director. And equally, if the cast are happy for me to say, "Oh, that is a good idea," but no, I want to do it like this. So I'll always kind of take other people's on, and that is a big achievement. You're absolutely right when you come and see it and watch it, even just. If you've directed a routine or just a gag, that, oh no, we need to pause just a little bit there because then the line and it'll deliver right and it will land better and it gets that laugh and you think, and I always, oh, they were brilliant doing that one. Yeah, but that direction helped that, and it's lovely to see that whole thing come together. They've delivered that well because of this and because of that, and yeah.
Well, I take my hat off to both of you, but equally, I think you're both mental. You wouldn't catch me anywhere near a directing position if you paid me excessive amounts of money. But Kev, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. Now, as you've said, you've got so much to do because you're buggering off away as well. So Can we,
And,
before you disappear, just round up?
Yes.
You are Krazy Kev. It is what you do. So that must mean you've got some kind of crazy story that you can tell us to finish up today. So there must be something from your years of entertaining that sticks out in the memory more than anything else.
There is. Well, I've got all sorts of ridiculous stories, so you'll have to have me back on for more.
Can do, yeah.
But there's probably one. It is probably more recent than a lot of them. And during the dreaded COVID, me and two other entertainers, we went out as the elf team. So we thought, right, we can't go out as work this year. Everything's cancelled. Panto's cancelled. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out as three elves, and our job will be to check people's houses, or like the outside of the houses, to make sure it's secure and safe for Santa to deliver their presents. So we had one of the boys had a van, Phil and Jamie. I better give them a little mention, bless them. One of them had a van. We did it out. We had it sign written, the elf team. We had our gear, and we had a 12-minute track, and they paid a fee, and we would turn up with this track on. We'd walk out. It was like the elf team, walk out, check everything over. Like, I do a bit of magic, Jamie would do a bit of juggling, Phil would do a bit of measuring up and a bit of silly stuff. And then at the end of the track, we'd go. So and it was massively received. It was so well received, we couldn't believe it. Like, we put it live on the website, and we sold like hundreds within the first kind of half an hour.
Brilliant.
So, well, I mean, we were pleased because we thought we weren't going to get any money for Christmas, so that was good. So basically, we did certain areas on certain days, so we had certain postcodes. So we were rushing from place to place to place to place. In the back of this van, and Phil would park up as I jumped out the side of it, me and Jamie walking with the speaker and everything else that we had going on. And we turned up to this one house, music blowing. We had like a horn on top of the thing as well, playing the theme tune. So we whizzed into this driveway, and we get out and go, "Hello, everyone! Here the elf team are here." And we knock on the doors, and then we always walk round to the back, walk round the back of the house by ourselves. Hello, banging on all the windows and all the way around. So we got round the back, and there was like this decking, like half-built decking. I thought, this is a bit odd, like all this stuff everywhere. Okay. And then there was these dogs barking away inside, which was kind of normal. That's fine. We were banging on the windows. Hello, blah, 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 blah. We were in the wrong road. Like, Phil had taken us to the wrong place. It was the right number house, but we were in the complete wrong road, someone else's house. But luckily, they were out, which was great. And we thought we got away with it until they shared the Ring video footage with us. And there's us three prats walking around the outside of the house, banging away, and I don't think we even had children. And I mean, honestly. So yeah, so that's my most recent story that I dine out on.
Mate, as you say, there are so many more. You'll have to come on again, but it's been a massive pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, Kev. And looking forward to working with you at Christmas.
I look forward to seeing you then. Nice to meet you, Drew. I'll sure see you soon.
Cheers. Have a wonderful Christmas. And there we have it. Another fantastic guest. Sometimes I do wish. I mean, we had longer. We had double episodes. We could go. I mean, I just wanted to chat more and more because, I mean, wasn't it just a joy to speak together, but also get that other side of Panto that from the horse's mouth, but also not just me talking about directing and producing, but going. And then obviously because now we know what your little bit of news was.
Well, yeah, so I suppose start with that and not to take away, we'll get straight back onto Kev. But yes, I can finally announce I am in Panto this year. I did allude to it a few episodes ago. So I will be performing alongside Krazy Kev Aggett in Jack and the Beanstalk at the Barrington Arts Centre in Ferndown from the 15th of December to the 24th of December. Quite a short run, so make sure you get in and get your tickets if you want to. Drew, where are you getting your tickets from? What's the website?
Oh, it is www.barringtoncentre.co.uk.
Look at that.
There we go.
Simple as that,
yeah.
Nice and easy. So please do come along if you happen to be nearby, or if you fancy travelling down to see me do my stuff. Obviously, yet again, playing the villain, far too old and grumpy to be a hero or to be anything positive. And actually, as we said, Kev is sort of playing both the hero and the comic role in this. It's a very, very well put together show. I'm very excited to be working alongside such a talented guy, and to go back to him. I completely. Do you know what? I don't know how I've managed it, but I always seem to work with people who are completely nutty and want to do more than one role. So you obviously have directed and starred in pantos. Kev equally is directing this year, and he's in it, and he's done it for previous years. And actually, when I was at East Grinstead last couple of years, another Kevin, Kevin who played our Dame, or plays the Dame, at the East Grinstead at the Chequer Mead Theatre. He's also Dame and director. So there's at least three of you, and you're all bloody mad.
There's more. There's more. Mind you,
yeah.
I mean, Kev has the extra burden, or say burden. We found out that he loves producing, but he's got the extra responsibility of all that pre-production that he discussed, of all the work, the writing, the working with the venues, and then the casting, the costuming, the stage, all that. I mean, as a director in the past, I've come on board when all that's kind of done, and you get the jolly bit of just running around the rehearsal room with the other actors. But he's had all those months of thought and planning before that even starts. So a testament to his skill and his love for panto.
Yeah,
but then I suppose if you have been working on the holiday parks, when it's full down, pedal to the metal kind of thing to entertain all those people, he's not afraid of a bit of hard work, is he?
No, exactly. And it just more cements the fact that Krazy Kev is a very good description of him, not just in work, but in nature as well. But yeah, so I'm very, very excited to be able to work alongside him this year. And we will have to try and get him back on, because I think we only touched the surface. I mean, as he said, he does comedy magic. He spends a lot of time on cruise liners, doing shows for both adults and children. Just another wonderfully talented guest to add to our list of Drewling Samantics past visitors. Aren't we lucky with the people that we get coming on the show, mate?
We're very, very fortunate. Very, very fortunate indeed. Yeah. And of course, we get to see each other week after week after week after week, don't we? So, I mean, that's got to be good.
Yeah, that started out so positive, and then you tapered off. So go on then. What have you got coming up? So obviously you've been flaunting around as the Krazy Head one this week, but what about next week?
Well, I'm actually that now I tuck into pre-production now, so we are now coming up to getting the grotto. So we've got a degree of changeover now. So we'll do a little bit of Halloween. We've got some Halloween events, and then we're able to start building and preparing and start decorating literally the building for the grotto. So it all goes into swing. We're still casting. We're still doing some casting for elves. So if anybody wants to work at the old watermill in Barton-le-Clay, actors and performers, get in touch, because we are still doing some casting. So we love to hear from anybody.
So not only do we bring you news here on Drewling Samantics and the latest goings on and entertaining stories and fantastic guests, we're now also trying to get other people in the industry some work as well. Is there anything we can't do?
Mate, I think we're covering it all, aren't we? I mean, what are we? We are a gift. We are a gift to everyone.
I reckon we should run the country, mate.
Well, this is a little bit like our party conference, isn't it? This week, this is the Drewling Samantics party conference.
Yeah, we're bringing you a party political message from two idiots in blue polo tops. Which, to be fair, the only difference between us and any other one is that we're wearing blue polo tops and they tend to have a shirt and tie on. Other than that,
exactly, yeah,
equally ridiculous and senseless. But before we get too political and alienate maybe the one or two people that listen to us that disagree that the country is being run by idiots, perhaps we should call it quits there.
Yeah, well, I know you've got a busy week up because you're touring still, so
yeah,
you're taking it to the people. So, if you've got a chance to have a 5-minute break and put your feet up, take it, and then I know you're off into the wilds of Norfolk north, south, east, and west. So good luck with that, mate.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, shows so far have gone really, really well, and long may they continue. Yeah, but I tell you what, I'm most looking forward to is us having another bit of a natter next week. So even when the world is crazy and things are going wrong and I'm all over the place, finding that half an hour to have a chat with you makes it all worth it, mate.
An oasis of calm, mate. It does make it worth it, yeah. And on that note...
Cheers, mate. It's been a pleasure, as always. Everyone else, we'll see you next time. So,
take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.